by Wyoming and Iowa's SBDC. We're so glad you've joined us for today's presentation. My name is Maureen Johnson, and I'll be working behind these scenes to help you have a great learning experience. The Wyoming SBDC Network is a University of Wyoming program available to all residents in the state and funded by the Wyoming Business Council and the U.S. Small Business Administration. We have advisors located throughout the entire state, and we provide no-cost confidential advising and technical assistance. Our advisors not only help new businesses get started, but also help current owners with growth, reinvention, exiting, and recovering from challenges in their business. America's SBDC Iowa has 15 regional centers and more than 50 satellite centers to assist small businesses. They serve 99 counties in Iowa. You can find more information on their website at iowasSBDC.org. As a response to the challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Wyoming SBDC Network is operating a CARES Act recovery program made possible by the Small Business Administration funds from the Congressional CARES Act. This program allows us to host experts who bring expertise in certain topics and industries that will assist in your small business's COVID-19 response, recovery, and resilience building. Today's webinar, Don't Fall Prey to the Newest Scams, is presented by Laura Baker. Laura Baker is the Executive Director of Cyber Wyoming, a nonprofit organization dedicated to addressing people, processes, and culture in company cybersecurity efforts. Cyber Wyoming believes that a multidisciplinary, holistic approach is necessary in order to infuse the idea that cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Laura, thank you so much for being here today. We're so excited for your presentation.
Thank you for having me. Let me share my screen. And can everybody see that okay? Okay. Thank you so much for having me, Maureen and Leah. I appreciate you and the SBDC. Today, I'm really excited to talk to you about some of the newest scams to be aware of. Awareness is the key ingredient to avoiding these scams. So consider yourself ahead of the crowd today just for attending. A little bit about Cyber Wyoming first. Like Maureen said, we're a nonprofit organization. We don't sell hardware, software, or technology implementation services. We have three main focuses. Our programs include education and outreach, workforce development as a registered apprenticeship office for technology professions, and economic development or outreach to businesses like yours. We have a lot of Wyoming organizations that support us in these efforts, like these amazing community-minded companies. And of course, great organizations like the Wyoming and Iowa SBDC agencies. So what's been reported to us? And this is original data. If you attended the previous Can You Spot a Fake Phishing Game webinar, then you've seen some examples, but this is original data reported to Cyber Wyoming. As of the end of April, here's what we've seen. We started this Report to Us program in January 2020, so the data encapsulates over a year. Feel free to forward your suspicious texts and emails to phishing@cyberwyoming.org. But there are other really good fraud tracking sites as well, like the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker, AARP's Fraud Watch Hotline, which anyone can call no matter what your age, and the FTC's Fraudulent Call Reporting System. So the top types of scams reported to us are fake notifications. For example, notifying you that you need to renew your antivirus software, pay an invoice, or receive a delivery fax or voicemail. Account fraud. For example, you need to update your user ID or password, or your credit card has been suspended, or your credit card needs to be renewed on a website. Impersonation and identity theft. A lot of reputable companies are impersonated, and some phishing emails are very well crafted. In fact, just last week, a real company had been hacked in Dallas, and the email came from their real domain address. So I called them and left a message for their IT people, and they called me back to thank me for notifying them. But someone had created a fax690 at their domain address, and they were sending out virus-laden fax attachments to random companies throughout the nation. Because I called, this nonprofit was able to shut it down. And the only reason I called was because another business forwarded the email to phishing@cyberwyoming.org. So I think picking up the phone every once in a while is a really good idea because I would want somebody to let me know if Cyber Wyoming was being impersonated. Inheritance is usually a money laundering scam. They want you to help them find a long lost relative, or they want you to help them find a charity to distribute funds to. Usually they ask for your personal information to get the process started and to share that commission or percentage of the funds with you, but you'll never see the money. Extortion and U1 were tied for the next most reported. Extortion emails often play on what you don't know. For instance, they say they installed spyware on your machine and have your browsing history or pictures from your webcam. Some even grab old passwords from the dark web just to be more convincing. Just delete the email. If you're worried, cover your webcam with a Post-it note, run an antivirus scan, and make sure you change your email password to something that no one can ever guess and something you've never used before. Top methods for scamming are email, phone, and text, and social media was a tie with text. But I think this is a little skewed because a lot of people just ignore social media scams because they know they're clickbait. But the top companies and organizations impersonated are Amazon, Microsoft, PayPal, the Social Security Administration, and Apple. And note that the Social Security Administration is a monthly call. It seems to start around the first of the month in Wyoming, and I wonder if that's the same for Iowa. Warn your more vulnerable friends and family members about this call. So why are we learning about what's already out there? This is supposed to be for new scams, right? Because education is the key. Talk to your friends and families about scams that you have seen out in the wild. It keeps them safe and it keeps you safe. 30% of those that did not engage with the scammer knew about the scam ahead of time. Only 9% lost money if they'd heard about the scam ahead of time, as opposed to 34% who had not. And if you feel something isn't quite right, listen to that spidey sense because it has been proven to work. So now that we know what's been reported today, what should we prepare ourselves for in the future? These are the top scams consumer fraud reporting says will be seen in 2021. The top two are probably because of the pandemic, debt collection, and fake government officials. Then come the standards, all of which have been reported to us, from phone scams to fake prizes to impersonation scams. But there are some higher tech scams that people don't think about, and one of them is called deep fakes. Now, this is a pretty interesting video. I'm going to switch over to it, and I want to make sure everybody can also hear my sound. So yes, they can. Okay, so this is just a minute, but it's really interesting. Watch the lips the most when you're watching this.
Thinking about my full-time employees and their ability to survive on $8 an hour in New York City. And foremost in all of our minds has been the loss and the grief felt by the people of Orlando. Most of us don't get our health care through the marketplace. We get it through our job or through Medicare or Medicare. And what you should know is that thanks to the Affordable Care Act, your coverage is better today than it was before. Women can get free checkups, and you can't get charged more just for being a woman. To give his employees come together to pass a common, there's a bill that would boost America's very, very hard times.
Some progress, at least within the small confines of the legal community. I think it's real important.
Here we go. President Barack Obama, when you giving a speech, make sure you use a lot of pauses.
America's businesses have created 14.5 million new jobs over 75 straight months.
We're developing technology. Every technology can be used in some negative way, and so we all should work towards making sure that it's not going to happen. And even one of the interesting directions is that once you know how to create something, you know how to reverse engineer it. And so you can, and so one could create methods for identifying edited videos versus real videos.
So I think that's pretty interesting. And if you watch the lips really carefully, you can see just like a little bit of difference, but not a whole lot. So if you have a low res video, it would be pretty hard to tell if that was really the person that you think it is on the video. So how does a faked video of Obama affect small businesses in Wyoming and Iowa? It's corporate scams impersonating the boss. Scammers used voice phishing, stole the boss's voice, and had the voice instruct a subsidiary company CEO to send $243,000 to a fake supplier, and it worked. If the boss asks you for something in a voicemail, then you're probably going to do it without question, right? So if it involves money, be sure to pick up the phone to call to confirm. So if you're a social media king or queen, you need to be extra skeptical online. It's common knowledge by security experts that profile pictures, full identities, video, and audio can all be found on social media as total fakes. It may not be a real person at all in that video or owning that social media account. While Twitter and Facebook have banned the use of these types of deep fakes, they still sneak in. And it's a big problem. About once a year, you see big social media companies making the news, clearing out fake accounts. And note there are even some fake accounts linked to the French military in this Google search. This has happened in the US too. There was a researcher in the US that created profiles in social media. She put up a cute fake picture, made up a bunch of credentials, and was able to get into the social media networks of really high up people in the US government. Yet they didn't know her and the persona that she created were 100% fabricated. So how do they fabricate an identity like this? A lot of times they'll cherry pick information from a lot of different people. In past presentations, I've talked about half stories. So they're creating just enough facts that you believe the fiction. So they might grab a social security number from one person, a driver's license number from another person. This is why people are hoping that blockchain will help with identity theft. If a baby's identity is recorded with blockchain at birth and the information is added only by the parents and later by the grown child, then it will be easier to prove identity and harder for a deepfake to mess up your life. So how do deepfakes affect you personally? Here's one example. Scammers pose as panicked grandchildren in trouble, calling or sending messages urging the grandparent to wire money to help them. They could say they're in jail, need money to leave a foreign country, or got in an accident and need help paying the hospital bill. And there have been reports of voice cloning or deep fakes where the grandparent swears that they're talking to their grandkid. Hackers watch open social media profiles to find out when people are taking trips. Then all they have to do is make a few phone calls. Here's how else hackers could use deep fakes. Revenge. Your likeness could be placed in videos to embarrass you, cost you your job, or try to put you in jail. Pornography. Imagine the fraudulent actor putting a politician into a porn video. Medical misinformation. Imagine medical expert videos being doctored to provide misinformation about something like COVID. Political fake news. Deep fakes could impact the next election, for instance. Terrorist propaganda. Recruitment videos could show prominent Americans saying threatening things about terrorist leaders. Warfare. They could show a sitting president declare war and cause a panic. Government overthrow. It could be used to influence the masses and start a coup. Court proceedings. Fake videos could be used to prove false allegations. And this is all pretty scary. So here's how to spot a deep fake. First, look for the 4 unnaturals. Eye movement, like for instance, maybe they don't blink. Facial expressions, body shape, hair, plus odd skin colors, awkward positioning of the head or body. You could also look for odd lighting, like is there a shadow in the wrong place? Is something blurry, or are there odd colors? You could look for the lips are moving, but they don't quite match the words coming out. And it makes me think of Meghan Trainor's song, I Know You're Lying Because Your Lips Are Moving. So yes, sing that song as you watch videos online from unknown sources. And finally, the basic, listen for a more robotic sounding voice. So with all of this out there, how do you protect your company? Well, first, make it a rule to always call if there's money involved. Just put it in your policies and train your employees. Incorporate the latest scams seen into your regular staff meetings. You can sign up for free to get alerts from Cyber Wyoming. Think before you post any video or audio online. Could it be used to impersonate company employees? To protect yourself and your family, create a family code word. If the person on the other side of the phone line doesn't know that code word, then you know it's a fake. This is great for that grandparent scam, but it can also work for your accounts payable department. Google yourself regularly and see what's out there. If you post a video on social media, add privacy protections. Don't take full-on face shots. Those can be used to steal your identity. Generally limit what you share when it comes to video and audio, and log completely out of any social media accounts that you have, and see what you can see when you aren't a friend and are just the general public. You might be a little surprised at what you can see. So what if your social media, what if you use social media as your news feed? I do. I follow some of my favorite news sources on my personal Twitter account. So it's a great way to stay informed. But sometimes I get some nutty posts out there, or some that look real but aren't. So just treat all social media posts by individuals like tabloid news. That celebrity is not going to have that alien lizard baby. Confirm what you read on social media before you repost it. How do you confirm? Follow a reputable source. This graphic is shown from the League of Women Voters, and it's a media bias chart. I try to stick with those that the League calls neutral with minimal partisan bias. And then you also see on social media all the time, why doesn't someone regulate this? They call for the fairness doctrine to be reinstated. So I want to address that real quick with these deep fakes. What is the fairness doctrine? A lot of people think it was the equal time rule, where the media had to offer opposing viewpoints equal time. That's still in effect. The fairness doctrine is actually a series of court rulings and FCC practices that manage broadcasters. This was in effect mostly in the times before cable, when you could get ABC, NBC, and CBS via antenna. And I know I'm dating myself, but I used to have to adjust those rabbit ears in my college apartment. It also required broadcasters to operate in the public interest, and some of their time was donated to social issues. So this is how Friends Don't Let Friends Drive Drunk and the Schoolhouse Rock educational series were partially funded and on the TV. In 1985, the FCC made the case that the fairness doctrine hurt free speech rights, and the practice was discontinued. But we have to remember that in today's world of cable, the FCC would not have had any power over the networks on cable, and because it wasn't coming across the free airwaves. So because the FCC stopped regulating, many of us don't know what news sources to trust anymore, and deep fakes are not helping. So it's really important to use multiple, reliable, middle-of-the-road sources to validate the information you're getting, whether it's a grandparent deep fake, a CEO voice fake, or an item in the news. A friend of mine that's a reporter said that the local newspapers are good sources because if they're wrong, the community is in outrage. And I tend to think that that might be absolutely correct. So another newer scam is SIM swapping. But what is SIM swapping? SIM swaps are also called SIM splitting, SIM jacking, SIM hijacking, or port out scamming. So what do SIM cards do? They connect your cell phone to your mobile network. The SIM card is the way Verizon, for instance, knows that you are really you. So how do the hackers SIM swap? I mean, they don't have access to your physical phone, right? So here's how they do it. They look all over the internet for information about you. Social media is their gold nugget, and they engage in some social engineering. This is why you need to be vague or lie about your personal information online. But they could get the real information from data breaches as well. It's pretty easy to find information about people online, as we showed in the SBDC webinar, Am I at Risk? Then they call your mobile carrier like Verizon and impersonate you, saying that they have damaged or lost the SIM card. Would the customer service representative please activate a new SIM card that they've already bought? Now, The new SIM card is connected to your phone number. You access your bank with a user ID and password, and like the security conscious person that you are, you have two-factor authentication turned on, and the bank sends you a text code to your phone. Now that code is intercepted. And maybe you send a password reset and that too is intercepted. And maybe they know your email address from social engineering, and now they can get into your email account, which will probably lead to getting into your other online accounts. And yes, you're at serious risk. And yes, this is scary. But first, and there's another one that's brand new. It was just reported to me today, and it's similar to SIM swapping. And this is about the WhatsApp app. And you may even see a message that's fake from the WhatsApp technical team on this. So what's happened is you receive a verification code on your cell phone. Then someone texts you on your WhatsApp account saying they accidentally sent the verification to your phone number and would you forward it? But the verification code is actually the password reset verification for your WhatsApp account, which they're trying to steal. So this is a little bit different than SIM swapping, but it's the same type of thing, and they're taking advantage of two-factor authentication and texting. So what can you do? The best thing you can do is lie when answering your online security questions. So instead of your mother's maiden name, you can make it Makes Best Oatmeal Cookies. Instead of the high school you went to, you can say, I thought the mascot was dumb. Instead of the first pet, you may say, old dog needed more baths. And instead of the city you were born, you could just put none of your business. Make it fun. I do believe in positive answers to mundane questions. So you could also say, I should have been born in the Alps, or if you're a history buff, in a log cabin with Lincoln, or if you're an Elvis fan, Memphis at Graceland. And then most importantly, train your employees to do the same. Because you have to think about what work systems your employees may have on their phone. Email is pretty common. If the SIM swap happens, then all of their work contacts could be stolen and emails could be stolen, which would be used to spoof your customers or vendors before you knew to shut your employees' email off. The phone could be used to tarnish your company's reputation on social media accounts, and this did happen to Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey. Take a screen print of this slide once everything's been revealed. This is what to include in your training for employees. And here are the warning signs of a SIM swap. First, you're unable to place calls or texts. I was recently staying in a small town near a national park, and I couldn't make a call, even though I had bars, and I kind of panicked wondering if I'd been SIM swapped. So I drove to the next bigger town to see if I could call, and I could. In rural areas like ours, this may not be a fully accurate test, but it's definitely one thing to be aware of. Another warning sign is being notified of activity elsewhere on another account, like a new device has logged in message. The final warning sign is that you may be unable to access some of your accounts. For instance, one lady called me and said that she couldn't get into any of her online accounts. This could have been due to a SIM swap. So here's how to protect yourself. We already talked about lying on your security questions. Sarah Palin's email account was hacked because of her bio on Wikipedia. So yes, lie. But other than lying, here's some more things that you can do. Make sure you have a strong password on your cell phone carrier account and don't use that password for anywhere else online. If there are extra protections that your cell phone carrier provides, then you might want to consider using them. Each carrier is a little bit different. Train yourself and your coworkers or employees how to spot a phishing email. We gave this presentation a few weeks ago and made a game of it, and the SBDC has that PowerPoint. So if you want to use it for a training at your company, feel free to contact them and they'll provide it for you. Texts are not encrypted, so don't build your identity checks just around your phone number. When there are other options, build one or two in if you can. And password managers are a really good idea too. Use something like Google Authenticator, which ties to your physical device, not just your phone number. And finally, put alerts on your bank and credit card accounts and have those alerts sent to your phone and another email address that is not tied to your phone. For instance, I have 2 email addresses that I don't have on my phone just for that purpose. You can make a quick training fun Offer prizes for the most creative lie using the top 10 security questions. Start with some of the ones that are easy to find on social media. Even if the prize is just a piece of candy, it can still be a fun awareness exercise and get people thinking at your company. Don't fall into the standard scare them straight tactic that many people in IT use to train. This just causes the backfire effect. I see it all the time. People's eyes roll back in their heads and it becomes too overwhelming, so nothing's done. But every business person I've met is worried about the risks. They just don't know where to start. So think like an internal marketing campaign and make this fun. It'll get engagement instead of distance. The next SBDC webinar is May 26th, and we'll be talking about the steps to creating a security awareness program. So I would highly encourage you to register for that. We'll be incorporating fun ideas, tools, and techniques, and it will give you a roadmap to start training your employees to protect themselves and your company. And in the meantime, if you have regular staff meetings and want to start talking about security awareness, you can sign up for alerts at Cyber Wyoming. It's free and it doesn't have tech speak, and you can use it to start the conversation in your office. So that's what I have today. I'm going to put that one screen back up so that you guys can take a screen print of it just in case you missed it, and see if you guys have any questions. There we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. That was one of our questions. So that's super helpful. You're ahead of the game. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, please pop those in the chat or the Q&A box. I've also posted the 2 links to Laura's previous webinars in the chat box. So if you want to bookmark those to watch later, if you weren't able to make them before, or just have them handy, the can you spot a fake? It looks like that link got a little wonky, so let me repost that one. But the Can You Spot a Fake one is the one she's talking about. That is a super fun game for your employees so they can spot phishing attempts. I'm reposting that here. So be sure to put that on your bookmark list. As far as questions go, what are the best practices for business owners who frequently use video and podcasts for marketing?
You know, I have to do it too. So what I've started doing is making my camera a little bit offset so that maybe they just show part of my face or I'm not quite looking directly at the camera. The other thing that I've done is if you add background music, it's harder for them to steal your voice. I mean, they can still filter it out, but it's harder to do. So I've started doing that as well, especially with this research on the deep fakes. I mean, I just started researching them maybe about 6 months ago. So I have some old videos out there that I need to bring back in, edit, and add some light background music in the back so that it's harder to steal my voice.
It's a good quick tip. Have you noticed an increase in calls about deepfakes in the state of Wyoming or beyond?
I haven't in deepfakes yet, but I have heard of these grandparent scams where the grandkids sound exactly like the grandkids and the grandparents are very, sure it's them. So the voice spoofing is definitely happening, and I'm sure they're getting it off of these videos that the grandkids are posting online.
Okay, we've got some follow-up comments and a question about that. This one says, I was at a conference last week and they said that video presentation should be shorter and use backgrounds in text and music only. What about profile photos like on LinkedIn?
So I did ask this question. We had an FBI agent that spoke to us a couple weeks ago, and I asked him about that. And he said, definitely on your profile pictures, again, turn your head slightly to the side. Don't look face on. Make it not look like a passport photo is basically, or a driver's license photo is what he said. Okay. And you can't smile in the passport photos. So, big smile, turn slightly to the side.
Perfect. That's good advice. I've noticed more text scams from like different numbers or weird emails with links. How do I get those to stop?
That's a great question. So the FTC does have a way where you can report the number where this text scam is coming from. And I don't have the link, but if you do, if you Google it, Federal Trade Commission call reporting, you can also report your text phone numbers to that. And I think the Better Business Bureau also might allow you to report. And they may not actually stop, because they change the numbers constantly. Like, a company actually got a spoof number from themselves. So, but it will help if you start blocking them also, and if you start reporting them.
Perfect. I've gotten a call from myself before, and that's always a really weird moment where you're like, wait a second.
Yep.
Oh, and we've got a link here in the chat here. And then we're asking for a little more detail on how you report them. So I think we go to this website. Laura, is there any other information that you need to include in the report?
It's just a step-by-step. You have to have the phone number and tell who you are, basically, but there's not a whole lot of information. If you recorded it, I believe there's another way that you can also upload your recording if it happens to be a phone call. I've reported a few to that, and I've reported a few to the AARP Fraud Watch Network. That's a phone number you just call. So if you don't feel like getting online, you can put that in your cell phone number. It's like an 866 number, and that one is just a call, and they walk you through it. It is set up just for the less technical savvy, so that's why I like to throw it out there. But anybody can call. A 13-year-old call, a 30-year-old can call, and a 65 plus can call.
Perfect.
And then to report to us, you can just forward it to phishing, phishing @cyberwyoming.org. And we would love to get those, because we do put out a weekly hackers brief to the newspapers, the Wyoming Associated Press, and we would be happy to put your company on that email list. And if you ever want off, we'll just take you off. We don't use your information for anything except for that list.
Wonderful. I dropped that email in the chat box, guys, so you can add that to your list of important handy tools. Are there any scams for deep fakes using video conferencing tools?
I haven't seen any yet, but that's a good question. Gosh, they're going to go there in no time.
Yeah, that's a terrifying question that I didn't even think of. So
they always think of the more creative and scary stuff to do. I tell you, they're one step ahead of all the good guys.
Yeah, that's a little frightening. It looks like that's all our questions at the moment. And as for folks who are asking about recordings, yes, we are recording this presentation, and it'll be posted on the Wyoming SBDC Network YouTube page within the next couple of days whenever we get that file and get it uploaded onto YouTube. So it will be available so you can review and share with your coworkers or employees so they can work a little smarter and not get taken advantage of by these scams. So, but Laura, thank you so much for this great presentation today. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I hope everybody is interested in coming to the security awareness plan. We're going to have templates. We're going to have fun ideas, contests you can have with your employees. It'll be a good one. So hopefully you guys can come to that and have some real good takeaways.
Yep, and that's on May 26th at 11:30 Mountain Time, 12:30 Central. So we'll see everybody then. But thank you again and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everybody.